Hey guys, welcome to the second part of the Celticwerks motor compartment. The second part deals with the painting of the compartment, like I explained in the first video. I've already given the interior drop-in a good washing and some dishwashing detergent, warm soapy water. I let it dry completely, and then I've given it a couple of light coats of primer just to speed things up so we don't waste a lot of time here. I'll be painting the interior mainly with Tamiya paints, acrylic paints, and some light color, rust colored paints, also acrylic. And most of the weathering will be done with MIG Production 502 Uptilung oil paints, also MIG Production pigments and the rust shades, and also rust pigments just to give it some texture. And I'll probably squeeze in some of the AK Interactive products for the streaking and whatnot and altering of the color. At the end of the video, I'll show you some images and basically a recap of what we did. I'm going to try to get everything in on one video if possible. If not, then I'll split it up, one for the painting, one for the weathering. I'll be doing another model at the same time, my T69-2 wreck. So I'll be jumping back and forth on those and, practice on the T69 and then show you the good stuff on the drop-in. Alright, hope you enjoyed the video. Let's get to painting. Okay, we already have the base color on here. What I did was I used some Tamiya paints in shades of gray with some white, just varying the gray a little bit. So now what I'm going to do is add some filters to it. I'm using Van Dyke White and MIG Productions Light Mud. I already got it on the palette here. We'll just take some mineral spirits. Basically it's just a filter that I'm doing. Just want to alter it a little bit. Got a little bit of blue right here just to get it in that gray shade. Not too much. Alright, see it's lighter, a nice light gray. We'll just give it a light filter. Basically to break up the single monotone gray and also to lighten it up. I always like to go lighter on my colors because of the weathering that follows will usually darken it and alter the color anyways. Don't have to worry about full coverage. I'm going to do some dot effects on there also with the oils. And that'll help vary the gray. I'm using mineral spirits to thin it. It dries pretty quick. What I want to do is get a damp wide brush and just remove some of the excess, being sure to go in one direction with it. That'll give you some of that streaking look. Here's a good example of what I've done with the fading of the original paint. This is my T69. Okay, here's an assortment of oil paints we're going to be using for the dot wash on this. Some of the weathering. I've already gone and applied some dots on there, and using a damp brush we'll just streak it up and down, vertical motion. This is similar to what you would do on your model on the exterior of it. This is actually part of the weathering also when you use the dot method, the oils. I like to use it once I got a base color on, just to alter the color. And like I said, I always go light with my paints for this reason. Using a wide, stiffer brush for it, dampened with mineral spirits. Not too worried about the floor because that'll get some different weathering later. Once you have this done to your satisfaction, basically let it dry a good 24 hours before you do any more work with oils or any other weathering products. I like to use the blow dryer to speed it up and then jump right into the next step. Okay, there we have it. It's a little wet. When it dries, you'll notice the streaking a lot better. Okay, this is now dry, so the next step is to add a little bit of color in it. By that I mean some rust. I'm using Life Color acrylic rust. They're excellent. They dry nice flat color. Perfect match. I'm just going to put a little bit in the palette of these two colors and work from there. First one is the base color. Next one is my favorite color, the dark shadow. Perfect for older rust. And of course you can mix the two together, they'll work fine. Just going to thin a little bit of the dark. I'm going to use that like a wash. Just want to get right into there in the final dries. Basically a starter. From this, we'll work with other products, you know, rust effects and whatnot. Now I'm taking some of the base color. I'm just going to get right there where the transmission bolted on. Like I said, I like to start out light and then work with different colors, different materials to get the right shades. Got these paints thinned down pretty good. Okay, what we can do now is add some chipping. I'm going to start at the top. You can use different methods. You can use the hairspray method. You can use a fine tip point paintbrush like I'm using here, the sponge technique, different ways of doing it. And we want to get those bolts there where the air cleaner was mounted. Basically wherever there were nuts and bolts that something was bolted onto, you want to get that. Of course, I'm going by some reference pictures of T55s and T62s that had the motor compartments completely stripped out. It's my main reference material. Now you can see it's starting to take shape. Okay, I've gone ahead and started on that with the rusting. What I've done was I've switched over to a dry brush, what I used to dry brush, and taken some of that life color paint, basically dry brushing. What I did was rub it on certain areas to replicate fading, and put a little bit more on there to make some chips. Remove most of the paint. Once that's dry, you can basically rub it around a little bit. It gives it that worn look. I've done the same thing there. You can keep hitting the corners, the edges, to get a little darker. What you want is a nice worn finish on there. Like I said, there's a lot of different ways to replicate chips and rust the metal. I use different types of methods. There's no right and wrong way of doing it. Basically what works best for you. Alright, we can let that dry up and we can continue. You may not want to go this far with all the rust on there. You can stop whenever you want. It's basically just the base for the weathering.